I think with that, that puts us a couple minutes past the hour here, or past the half hour.
Yeah, sweet. So we'll get started. So thank you again, everyone, for joining. We appreciate it, and we really hope that this brings you guys value in whatever you are, trying to accomplish. This webinar is really made for business owners, anyone in marketing or sales, individuals that are thinking about starting up a business or just want to understand how this could all work. If you are maybe you are in the digital marketing space, you own a social media marketing agency or digital marketing agency, really this is we'll speak to a wide audience. And so some of this information may not be relevant to you. Hopefully most of it is. And again, we welcome any feedback, any questions. We're hoping that, if this was helpful, please let us know, because that will encourage us to continue to do these types of things. But if there's anything that you want to let us know or any questions you have, feel free. We are willing to hear any and all feedback. So with that, we'll get started. Again, to touch on before we begin is at the end of this webinar, we will send you the recording. If you entered in an email address to register, it will be sent to that email address. Feel free to submit any questions into the chat at any time. I am going to be watching the chat when I'm not speaking, and if it's something that we can address throughout the presentation, we will address your question right away. If it's something that maybe takes a little bit of a longer answer, or we've moved on from that topic, then we will address it at the end of the presentation. So if something crosses your mind as a question, feel free to just throw it into the chat. I don't want you to forget your question by waiting until the end of the webinar. And then also, if we ask if you could, please fill out the exit survey at the end of this webinar. That is where you'll be able to leave that feedback I was just asking for. Tell us you loved it. Tell us you hated it. We're open to any and all feedback. We want to continue to do these in the future, and really for us to make the best webinar, we need to know how we did throughout this one. So feel free to let your questions and feedback flow. With that, I will introduce our speakers. I am Dallin Bernard, president and founder of Social Hustle. I have been in digital marketing for over 12 years. I was very lucky, even before I graduated high school, to get into some digital marketing, the digital marketing space. My first job outside of working with my family was doing sales for a digital marketing agency. And from there, I took a lot of training, education, and courses, and started Social Hustle with Chris, and I've been doing that ever since. I've been involved and led over 500 successful marketing projects. And so that is everything from SEO to social media marketing strategy to content creation, website development, Google Ads, you name it. When it comes to any sort of digital marketing campaign, I've seen a lot. And so I hope that my experience in the past can, I can bring it into this webinar and help answer any questions you guys have, deliver some value, and help you understand a little bit more how digital marketing works and how you can use it to make some money. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chris and let him introduce himself.
Thanks, Dallin. I'm Chris Perrett. I'm the current CEO of Social Hustle. I've been in search engine marketing specifically and digital marketing for the last 8 years. Within the search engine marketing space, I've successfully spent over $10 million in ads and generated, multiple millions of dollars on top of that in revenue for our clients. If there is a search engine marketing platform that you're using, questions you have about paid advertising, I have spent the majority of my adult life running these ads, creating these campaigns, and I'm hoping that today we can answer a lot of the fundamental questions that everybody seems to have when it comes to paid advertising.
Sweet, thanks, Chris. So briefly go over the agenda. First thing we'll talk about is just what is digital marketing, how is it used, get into market research, identifying and understanding your market, who you're selling to, the metrics that you need to identify in order to monitor, track, and improve the progress and success of your digital marketing campaigns. The main piece of meat that we have for the webinar is the marketing avenues. We will go into the different platforms that are available, who they are beneficial for, what types of businesses should be using which platforms. We'll get in a little bit into website development, mainly just talking about the website development platforms that are out there for your use to be able to, if you're trying to sell products or services or, and different price points for these different platforms to help you understand which one you should be using. And then also we'll talk about tools and software. We mainly just talk about the major players in tools and software. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different tools and softwares out there for you to use in different aspects of digital marketing. And so we're going to touch on the main ones. And then finally, we'll talk about training and education. We have some resources at the end of this webinar. If you're interested in learning more about SEO or interested in learning more about Google Ads, there are many platforms out there that offer fantastic educational courses, online courses, even in-person events and seminars that you can pay to go to and learn more about these channels. So with no further ado, we will hop into it. To start, I want to lay the groundwork here of what digital marketing is. Digital marketing refers to strategies implemented through Google, social media, email marketing, display marketing, and any other online channel. There are many channels out there that I would consider to be digital marketing. Really anywhere online that you can go and generate awareness or sell products and services, that is digital marketing. So businesses and individuals of all types can use digital marketing to gain attention and sell products or services. I mean, I honestly and truly believe that every industry and every individual, regardless of exactly what their end goal is, can use some form or another inside of digital marketing to help them gain awareness to the products or services that they are trying to sell. First, we will let Chris get into market research. And this is essentially the first step that you should take after you've come up with a business idea, or maybe even before when you're trying to decide exactly which products or services that you're trying to sell or promote. Market research is incredibly important. Understanding the industry, understanding the market demand can really set you up for success or fail if you do it correctly. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chris.
Thanks, Dallin. And exactly as Dallin was saying, we want to begin with the very basis here. And some users and some attendees here, you may be considering a company, you may have already identified who that individual is, but we're going to run down the basic approach to market research. To begin with, the very first step is going to be understanding your industry and understanding what type of company you are. Are you a service company? Are you product-based? Are you B2B? Or are you B2C? Are you direct to consumer? And how is your industry trending? Is this an industry that you're in that is a niche market and it's steady? Is it an expansive market and it's growing? And how are your consumers likely to interact with you or to engage with you? Once you understand the type of industry that you're in, the type of company that you are, you can begin to identify the demographics around your consumer. And I know that this sounds basic, but this is the very first step to figuring out how you're going to reach these individuals. How old are your target audience? What are their interests? Where do they live? Are they male? Are they female? Are they parents? Do they like outdoor bicycling or do they prefer hammocking on the weekend? The more information that you can garner around your target market and the more you can understand about them, the better you're going to be able to identify the platforms that they're more likely to engage with. To give a really quick example of that, we use Google Ads for a lot of our marketing. We also use Bing Ads. If the individual that we're trying to reach is over the age of 60, then we usually use Bing Ads to reach them. We've found that users that are older don't know how to change their default settings and they land on Bing. Really simple example, but the more you know, the more you can make actions. Once you understand who the individual is, the next step is to identify how you want them to react to you. How do you want them to engage with your company? Are you a company that needs lead gen forms? Are you really focused on phone calls? Do you want to take those phone calls and have consults right on the phone? Or do you want to reach out to them after the fact? Are you looking for registrations? Maybe you want them to sign up to come to a fitness class, or you want them to sign up for a consultation. Or are you e-commerce based? Are you transactional, where your main goal is to generate revenue? Again, these all come through the ideation of the company, but as you hone and identify that, you're going to understand how to move your client through the different stages of the funnel. Once you understand your client, once you understand how you're going to find your customer, then you're able to identify what the lifetime value of a client is or a customer is. You understand how much it's going to cost you to find these individuals, the cost to get them to complete these goal actions. You then can identify the profit that's generated. Once you understand the profit that's created from a customer, then you can identify the discount that you can offer. How can you market your services? How much can you spend on your marketing and still achieve profitability? Each of these steps moves you further down the goal to laying out the basic customer life cycle of your individuals that are going to come and purchase from your company. Dallin, is there anything else you want to add to that? I tried to, run us through everything we've come across, but any other thoughts you'd add to that?
Yeah, sure. So probably on the lifetime value of a client, I think that one is incredibly important. I think businesses that we deal with regularly don't fully understand the lifetime value of a client. So first, I'll quickly go over just the description of lifetime value of a client. So the lifetime value of a client is how much they will be worth, not just on their first purchase, but second or third, or maybe you're in an industry. I'll use an example of, I think Chris, you mentioned like if you're a fitness instructor, maybe you have a gym and your end goal is to get people to sign up for your monthly membership. And let's say it's $50 a month. And so in that first month, you make $50 off them. In the second month, it's now 100. In the third month, it's 150. And so you need to determine, and this is only something that can be found after you've been in business for a while, but you need to determine how long does your average membership last? Is it 6 months and then people leave your gym and go to another one? Is it 2 years? Is it 5 years? If you know that on average you're able to keep one of your members for 5 years, then you now have a lot more money to invest to try and gain a member. Also, one thing I like to touch on is referrals. Social Hustle, major part of our marketing is through referrals. We get a lot of our business through people that we've already done work with. And so back to the fitness example, if on average, every member that you get, every new member refers one other member that you did not have to spend any marketing dollars on to attain, then the average lifetime value of your client or the amount of money that you can invest in getting that client essentially doubles. Because if your average member stays 5 years and they over the course of 5 years will refer one person that stays 5 years, you're able to spend a lot of money to get that one first membership, knowing that more than likely that person is going to stay for a long time, refer another person. And that really opens up the doors for you to be able to invest a lot more money than maybe you had originally thought of. So really understanding the lifetime value of your client and spending your marketing dollars more wisely or more efficiently because you know how much money you're going to make in the long run, not necessarily off their first purchase. I'll give another example quickly and then we'll move on. Maybe you sell products. Typically, if you are you sell clothing on your website, hopefully this individual is going to come back and purchase from you again, and maybe even a third time. And so if you have repeat purchases, you may have enough money to go backwards to bring a new client, meaning you spend more in marketing to bring in one sale than what that sale is actually worth, knowing that that person is going to come back 2 or 3 or 4 times and continue to purchase from you, and then you will become profitable. So lifetime value is a very, very, very important metric and something that you should have a great understanding on. So from there, once you've identified your end goals, how much your lifetime value of a client is worth, and you've been able to basically assess a budget of what you would be willing to spend to bring in a client, you can start to evaluate the different marketing avenues at your disposal. There are many different avenues. We touch on the major ones here, but there are many different avenues that you can use for marketing, not just digitally, but traditionally as well. You have, the traditional marketing avenues of billboards and TV commercials and radio. But once you've identified exactly how much a client is worth, you can start to analyze and evaluate all of those different channels to figure out which one's going to be best for you. So what we'll cover today, it would be SEO, Google Ads, social media marketing, and email marketing. Those are really the 4 main types of marketing channels online. There's lots of little avenues almost inside of each one of these. Google Ads, there's 4 different types of networks. There's even more than that, but 4 main types of networks inside of Google Ads. So let's hop right into SEO and give you a kind of an overview of what SEO is all about. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it is the work that you do to your website, both on and off your website, to prove to Google that you should be ranking on the first page or even the very first position. So I showed we have a screenshot here that you can see of a search term garage door repair in Las Vegas. You'll notice that none of these search results have the word ad next to them. So that means they are the organic search results, meaning the results that are based off of search engine optimization. The SEO that is done to a website, when done correctly, you are trying to build the authority of your website. And I'll get into what exactly that means here in a second. But first, I want to talk about on-page SEO. And on-page SEO is essentially referring to the SEO work that you do on your website. And what you're trying to do is tell Google on your website what it is that you do, or more directly would be what it is that you're trying to rank for. And so every page on your website has different elements that Google is going to read and index to have an understanding of what that page is all about and what search term Google should rank that page for. And so we talk about the 6 main ones. There's a few more than these, but again, we're trying to keep this high level. You have a title tag, you have your headers, H1, H2, you have your URL for each web page, you have the text inside of that web page called your body text, and then you also have images on every single web page. So this next slide here, we give an example. So when you use Google Chrome or you use Safari, at the very, very, very top of your browser, you will notice a title of the page that you're on, and that's called your title tag. By default, when you build a website, normally your title tag for your homepage example would just say home. You want to change that and enter in keywords into that title tag, giving Google a clear idea of what this page is all about. In your URL, let's say that you are a sports accessories store, or maybe more specifically, you sell basketball shoes on your website. Your title tag would say basketball shoes. In your URL, you would be sportsstore.com, and then on the page of your website that you have basketball shoes, it would be /basketball shoes, and you're putting your keyword in there and telling Google exactly what that page is all about. Then you have your first header. It's called an H1, and that is probably the second or third most important place on your page that Google goes to read to see exactly what this page is all about. So you want to include your keywords there as well. Any other header that you have on your page, which is essentially just, normally it's, you would see a bolded, larger title for different sections on your web page. You want to put in keywords into those areas as well. And then also every web page has, at least one or multiple bodies of text, which are essentially just paragraphs of text. And throughout those paragraphs, you want to touch on those keywords that you're trying to rank for. In this paragraph would say, here at Sports Store, we are a premier online retailer of basketball shoes. If you are looking for a pair of high quality basketball shoes, look no further than sportsstore.com, right? And so there's a very complex algorithm of how to write this content in a way that Google understands the keywords that you're trying to rank for, but also you still want this text to sound proper, for lack of a better word, when people are reading it. We've all been on web pages before where you're reading the web page and it's just like keyword after keyword after keyword after keyword, and it almost sounds like a robot is talking or wrote the content. And Google now has ways of understanding if you are putting your keywords too often in your text. And if you're not delivering a web page that visitors will like, they will leave and go find another result. And so without getting too deep into the weeds, it's much more complex than just throwing keywords into it. You want to make sure you do it the correct ratio. But it's definitely something that you need to understand and take into account. And finally, the images that are on your web page. Every image that is on your website has a name. And normally, if you were to say you have a professional camera, or even just on your phone, you take a picture and you upload it to your website, it's going to have just some letters and numbers. .jpg would be the name of that image as it comes right off the camera. And you want to rename that image on your web page with keywords. And so on this, let's say this is the sports store and this is a picture of some basketball shoes. I would rename this image basketball shoes rather than just having it be the default name right off the camera. Then when Google reads and analyzes all of these different elements on your page, they understand what that image is all about. and it reinforces the keyword that you are trying to rank for. So that is all on-page optimization. On-page optimization you should never be done with on-page optimization, because you should always be adding more content to your website. This is typically done through a blog. People will write blog posts as often as they can, and you would want to go through the same optimization with those blog posts that you put up. So you write a blog post about how maybe some NBA player wore a pair of basketball shoes that you sell. And so you write a blog post about that, but then also throughout that blog post, you want to enter in the keywords that you're trying to get your website or web page to rank for. So as long as you're creating new and consistent content, then you will never be done with on-page optimization. The next aspect of SEO is off-page optimization. And so this is the SEO that you are doing that is not on your website. Essentially, off-page optimization is you're really just trying to gain popularity on the internet. So you're trying to get your website URL and your business name out on as many websites as you can, as many as makes sense, right? You don't want to just throw your website URL on spammy junk websites from somewhere overseas. You want to find websites that are relevant to the industry that you're in, and that have high authority for their domain, meaning they are not just a fly-by-night website that was just popped up and has no real authority or no real meaning. The more important the website is, and that's hard to quantify, but the more important a website is, the more valuable your link would be. And so these 4 examples we have here are types of websites that you can get links from to gain popularity in the search engines or in Google's eyes. So your social media channels, your Facebook page, right? You have a URL to your website or a link to your website from your Facebook page. Google will find that, and that helps increase your authority. It's essentially an endorsement from Facebook to your website. You have actual authoritative websites. And so to stick with the sports analogy, ESPN, obviously industry leader in sports news and sports related content. If you were able to get a link from ESPN.com to your website, ESPN talks about your business and provides a link from ESPN to your site, Google would find that and think, wow, like this is the worldwide leader in sports, and this sports store was able to get a link from ESPN, and that would be an extremely valuable link and would really drive up the authority of your domain name. And some other examples would be online directories. We've all been on Yelp before looking for restaurants, and that is a link. From that Yelp page, you can visit the restaurant's website. Google will find that link, and that helps build your authority up as well. Finally, there's lots of blogs and forums out there. Let's say there's an independent sports writer, sports journalist who talks about different sports gear and accessories that are out there on the market, and it's maybe more of like a side hobby for him. This isn't like a major ESPN type of site, but just a blog or a forum, and it's relevant to your industry. You can reach out to that blog author or the owner of that website and say, hey, I'm in a similar industry. I think that the content that I have on my website would be valuable to your viewers as well. Do you mind putting a link from your site to my site? And a lot of this link building, and especially the blog and forums style, can be a very manual process of finding these websites and reaching out to them and seeing what it would take to get on their website. But it can be very, very valuable. And just like with on-page, off-page SEO is something that you'll never really be completed with. It's not like you go out and find 100 sites and get your link placed on their website and then you're done with it. Assuming that you're in a competitive market, your competitors are probably also doing SEO. And if they continue to build links past 100 and they're building these links from relevant, valuable, authoritative sites, then you're going to need to keep building links as well in order to stay relevant and stay on the first page. So I don't ever want it to come across as with SEO, and when we get this a lot of people think that it's maybe just a one-time fee, as how much does SEO cost and when will we be done and be ranked? And it's usually a monthly thing. You want to continue to do it month in and month out to stay at the top and continue to distance yourself from your competitors. Last thing we'll touch on with SEO is the budget. For most of these channels, we wanted to help everyone understand of what the investment for SEO would potentially be. It's different for everyone. The budget that you need to assign for SEO really is going to be based on how competitive of a market that you are in. If you are a lawyer in a small town in Idaho versus a lawyer in Beverly Hills, California, you have extremely different competition levels, and the amount of work that needs to go in to get you to rank is going to be much higher in Beverly Hills, California than it would be if you were in a small town somewhere. So normally we see if you were you just need a local SEO campaign, meaning you're only trying to rank in one city or a small regional area, then that's considered a local SEO campaign. And to hire a marketing agency like Social Hustle or any of our competitors, we typically see pricing around there start around $500. SEO is something that you can do yourself. You do not have to hire an agency to help you out. It's just probably going to be, for most business owners, worth the money to not have to spend their time trying to learn and implement SEO and be able to focus on the other aspects of your business. If you are an enterprise level SEO campaign, meaning you are trying to rank nationwide or even globally for your keywords. So back to the sports store example, it doesn't matter if you're looking for basketball shoes in Los Angeles or if you live in New York or if you live in Texas. If you search for basketball shoes, that company can sell you those shoes and ship them to you. And so they're more of an enterprise level SEO. And we see pricing for enterprise SEO really can vary. So I'll use a crazy example here. If you're selling some sort of product that is brand new that no one's ever heard of, and you have no competitors, and you're trying to rank on a national scale, you can probably get away with not spending very much because you don't have very many competitors. If you're trying to rank for a term like basketball shoes across the United States or across the world, that is going to be extremely competitive, extremely difficult to try and rank for, and will take a lot of time, a lot of effort. And we've seen SEO budgets upwards of 10, 20, 30, even $50,000 a month that people are spending to have a team of SEO experts working on creating and optimizing content, building links. So, and I know this is a wide range here of pricing, but really I think the most important aspect is to consider how competitive is your market, and that will give you an idea of really how much you should spend as far as a budget goes. So with that, the next channel that we want to discuss is Google Ads, and this is Chris's area of expertise. And so I will turn it over to Chris and let him explain the Google Ads platform.
Thank you, Dallin. So with the Google Ads platform, it is a pay-per-click marketing platform. And if everybody looks at the image on the left there, you're going to notice that it's pretty similar to the image that Dallin showed earlier with the SEO. And if you recall, he mentioned that those listings didn't have the little ad next to it, that little small badge to the left. Anytime you see the small badge to the left, you know that that company is paying to be there, and that the result you're seeing is not generated solely based off the organic rankings and all the SEO work that's been done, but it's there through a targeting and bidding process known as Google Ads. Companies are paying to show you these ads because they think there's a high probability, a high chance that you're going to click on one of these ads and you're going to convert. Every time you click on one of these ads, that company is paying between $1 up to a couple $100 to bring you to their site and attempt to convince you to buy. Now, as a company, as a entrepreneur, whichever position you're in, you're going to be looking to identify the keywords that your customers are searching for. And that whole conversation on coming up with those keywords, that's going to tie really closely into the SEO keywords. You're identifying the keywords that you want to rank for. They're probably the same keywords you want to bid on. And the difference being that in a day or two, you can get your ads showing here, where that SEO and the competition behind that takes a lot longer. It can take months, and it's an ongoing process to begin to see results, and you can get ads to show now. Now, on the image on the left, you're seeing two of the available types of Google Ads. At the very top, those are shopping ads. These are image ads that are specifically tied to one single product. If you click on the image on the left there, that's going to take you to that exact product, the 5mm Miami Cuban link chain. If you click on the ad below that, you're going to land on the home page, or one of the blue links below will take you to a specific page. It allows you to select where you want to end up. Difference being the search network, which is the text option, and the shopping. Now, going a little bit further, we do have some additional market options that are available to us and different ways that Google will allow you to market. Don, would you take us over to the next slide there?
Yep.
I want to cover the top four opportunities within Google Ads, and then we'll discuss some of the side variants there on the left. The number one most used network within Google is the search network. Anytime you click and you search a keyword or a phrase within google.com, you can bid on that and show an ad. No matter what the phrase is, it's available to bid on. The second largest is going to be the shopping network. These are going to be anybody that has a Shopify site. If you have a Shopify store and you have products, you can show shopping ads. You can hook that right up, begin to show shopping ads, and try to bring individuals in to come in to purchase from your store. The next two are a little bit more versatile. I want to touch on display next. So in the display network, you will begin to see visual ads. These are images that companies are showing you to either bring you back through remarketing. I'm assuming that most of you have been out shopping and you've been on a website before, and then almost as if by magic, you begin to see ads for this company everywhere. You see images, you see pictures, you see everywhere you begin to traverse the internet, you see ads. These are display ads typically, and they're doing what's called remarketing. And an example here is this Fresh and Lean company. Both on the right hand side and on the left hand side, I'm being remarketed to. On the left hand side, it's a graphic ad through the network, through the display network, while on the right hand side, you have a video ad that's being showed through the YouTube network. Google owns YouTube, and so YouTube is one of Google Ads' opportunities to show ads there. And you can see how that video ad is now showing before I watch a YouTube ad, and it's specifically showing to me because I was on this company's website, and they're wanting to bring me back to try and close that sale. And so depending on how you want to bring your consumers back and how you're trying to find them, you can set up outbound marketing, which is where you're going after them when they're searching for a product, or you can set up inbound marketing or remarketing where you're looking to bring them back after they've been to your website already. You're looking to close that deal. Now, outside of these four, there are a few other opportunities I want to mention. Google does allow you to do Gmail ads. They allow you to do in-app ads. Say you've created an app that is a service or it's a game and you want to market that app, you can do app ads, and you can do local service ads. These local service ads are actually brand new. They're specifically targeted to local companies within a city that offer a local service, whether it's a repair shop, it's a paint shop, it's you do oil changes, window repair, glass cleaning. These are specifically local services. And what's really cool is that if you have a local service campaign, they'll actually show above the search ads and above the shopping ads at the very top of the page. Google's put a lot of emphasis on trying to provide local service ads now. Moving on to our next slide here from the opportunities within Google. We have got some of the benefits and some of I just wanted to give some highlights around what you can expect from Google Ads if you're ready to dive into that platform. It was estimated that last year, 91% of all internet users see Google Ads or interacted with Google Ads every single day. Google is able to, has a 91% reach across the entire globe. On top of that, the websites that allow their images to be shown from Google, the remarketing ads to be shown on them, there's over 2 million companies that allow Google to show you ads when you visit their website. In a revenue perspective, Google estimates that last year they were able to generate $116 billion in direct e-commerce purchases just by going and clicking on an ad, landing on a website, and then making a purchase. Now, I want to clarify that this does not include any of the revenue that was generated from lead gen or from contracts and services that were agreed upon and paid outside of a click here, shop, and checkout. Google is generating hundreds of billions of dollars, if not over $1 trillion in revenue and in sales outside of just the e-commerce side. And then finally, on an average ROI, how much money should you expect to make from Google Ads from the first dollars you invest? Across the board, it's typically expected that you can make 210% as an ROI or return. So every dollar you put in, you should expect to get $2.10 back. Now, I have seen this range as high as 53. That's the highest ROI I've seen. $53 back for every dollar put in, and you can see that range throughout any of that. Let's see here. We did have one question while we're talking about the Google Ads side there from Joseph that I think we could actually touch right before we get into the budget. He said, I'm going to click answer live here and that'll let us answer this. It says, I noticed that the ad link website showed the reviews where the other link in the website didn't. Are the reviews only showing on an ad, or is that just a site that didn't have any reviews? Dallin, would you be able to take us back to that page that had the ads there and the reviews? Perfect. So right here, you'll notice where there's this 5-star review where this company, GLD, they have 2,735 reviews. Now, the review widget, as this shows up, is specific to ads. It's something that you can set up and then import into your ad, and it's meant as a device that conveys trust and also as a device that encourages you to click through. It's a click-through rate enhancement, right? When you're looking at two competitors, if you see one that has 2,700 reviews and you see one that has 5, you're most likely going to go through the one that has 2,700 reviews because you're like, well, goodness, they've got that many reviews. They're probably worth checking out. Now, as far as the organic side goes, the organic or the non-paid option, those reviews are actually going to typically show in the Google My Business side. So sometimes on the right hand of the screen, you'll see a company highlighted there with reviews, but you don't see those within the organic listing that is typically typically held back for the paid ads. Joseph, I hope that answers your question there.
Yeah, I think the short answer is basically it's possible. You just need to have it set up correctly. It just doesn't happen automatically.
You have to just configure that. Perfect. Let's move back to the budget piece there. Joseph, great question. Now, we tried to break down some budgets here for you and some ways to, give you different breakpoints for spend. Now, Google Ads is really unique in that you can control how much you spend in it to the dollar per day. And if you want to spend more, you can expand that. If you want to retract that, you can. Typically for companies that are, getting started in Google Ads, you're looking to keep your costs down and you're really going to be utilizing only one of the platforms. We see up to $1,500 a month. 500 is really the base point per month, and that usually goes up to about 1,500. You're experimenting with search. You're trying to identify those keywords. You're looking to figure out which of the platforms is going to work the best for you. Once you've done that and your company is growing, you've maybe brought on an agency at that point, or you're comfortable enough to expand it, we see the small business budget come into place where it really ranges from 2,500 up to 15,000. And that area, you're still probably utilizing one, maybe two of the platforms. You've really expanded on your search, you're launching your shopping, maybe you have a little bit of remarketing running now, and you're beginning to see your results there while still keeping the cost low. You're still very concerned about the ROI, your ROAS, your return on ad spend here. Once you get a campaign or a set of campaigns that are up and they're running and they're successful and consistently month over month they're delivering the ROI that you need, you've reached the point where you're ready to now expand. And that's where we see these multi-platform campaigns come in. We see these enterprise level campaigns come in where you look at your campaign for basketball shoes, as Dallin mentioned before, and every single month it brings in between, 250 and 300% ROI, or $2.50 and $3 for every dollar you put in. And you've reached the point where you're ready to scale it. And you say, well, if I can spend 10,000 and get that, I'm ready to spend 50,000 or 100,000. You're looking for that scalability. And that's usually where we see that large expansion in budget once you hit a consistent and a steady ROI. But success, and I want to be really clear here, guys, success in Google Ads can be achieved at any of these budgets. I don't want you to feel like you have to have $2,500 to get started or $1,500 to get started. You can see success, but it's the scalability where you're going to see that really exponential growth within your company from Google Ads.
Yeah, and I
Dallin,
think just to add on to that, to give a real world example, we had a client that about 4 years ago, we approached them and said, hey, we think that you can see success in Google Ads. They agreed, but they just did not have much money to spend at all. In the first month, we spent, it was probably $500, Chris, right? Or $750, which I know is significant to a lot of businesses, but in their market, it was not a lot compared to what their competitors are spending. But we were comfortable starting at that low of a budget, and we started to see success, and we slowly increased that budget and increased it and increased it. And in the month of April, Chris and I were talking about this before the webinar, They spent $364,000 on Google Ads and had the greatest ROI that they have had in any month ever. And so it just goes to show that if you can test out Google Ads at a small budget and start to see success and scale that up slowly. I mean, it was over the course of 4 or 5 years that we've got them up to this, to where they're, pretty consistently spending hundreds of thousands each month. It can happen, and it can work for you. Even if you're in a very competitive market, even if you're selling basketball shoes, you could start with a very small budget. You're not going to get, a very large percentage of the market, but if you can find what works, you can scale it up and eventually get to where, it may sound crazy to be spending that much money in an ad spend, but if it's bringing you back, 3, 4, 5 times as much in revenue, then of course you're going to spend that much. So that's just a real world example of, somebody that didn't have confidence in Google Ad, or maybe didn't have budgets in the Google Ad platform. And once we were able to start bringing in those sales, we were able to scale up, and we've just had incredible success with them. And I would say, to spend, nearly $400,000 in a month is unique. Most businesses are not spending up that high. It's definitely possible, and you can scale. You don't have to start with a big budget. So from there, we will transition into social media marketing. This is probably one of the most talked about forms of marketing nowadays. Most businesses that come to us, we start off the conversation around Facebook marketing or Instagram. They're seeing that as a shift in attention, and they know that there's a lot of attention, a lot of members inside of these social media networks. And so it's a hot topic. What we want to help you guys understand or what are the main platforms, and how to decide which one is best for you. And then we'll briefly touch on, how to start setting up a campaign to see success in those platforms. So the essential social media platforms for the majority of businesses that we see are Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. Obviously, there's some other major ones that we have left off of here. I'll mention Twitter. I'll also mention TikTok, just because it's become so insanely popular as of late. But these really are the 4 main platforms that the majority of ad spend is occurring. So first thing you need to do when deciding which platform is right for you, or which platforms are right for you, is you need to identify what is the purpose of your social media marketing. Back to our very, very first slide, when we talk about, what metrics are you trying to have a transactional sale? Are you trying to sell products? Are you trying to get people to just consume content, watch your videos, register for a webinar? There's lots of different end goals that businesses or individuals could have. And so you really need to identify what that is first. You also need to understand who you're selling to. Are you selling to businesses? Are you selling to consumers? Back to the demographic information. If you are selling to individuals out of business, maybe you're selling to vice presidents of software companies. LinkedIn is probably a great platform for you to dive into and start running an analysis on, and just evaluate if that's will match up with your end goals. If you are a fitness instructor and you are trying to sell videos, home videos, people can do like at-home workouts. YouTube is probably the platform that those people are spending a lot of time on to watch videos, and you could promote, some free videos there to push people to your paid program. And then also, you really need to have a solid content creation strategy and have specific content for each platform. You cannot create one 10-minute long video, post that video in each one of these platforms, and expect to see the same success. We see that at Social Hustle. We will post a long video on Instagram, and it gets far fewer views than a video that we would post to Facebook. Or if you have a beautiful aesthetic photo and a great caption or a great message to go along with that, obviously YouTube wouldn't be the place for that. That's purely a video platform. So make sure that you have a solid content creation strategy, and know that you're going to have unique content for each one of these platforms. Or sometimes content can work on a couple of them, but no one piece of content will perform amazing on every single platform. So the social media building blocks. Again, this is high level. We could talk for hours about every single one of these channels, and so we wanted to just cover the fundamentals here. Um, to start off with, you need to understand what type of a page or what type of a brand are you creating in these social networks. Is it a personal page or is it a business page? I think we've all gotten that friend request from a local business that says, Jeff's Pest Control would like to be your friend. And obviously that pest control company created the wrong type of page. And so it seems like this is a very easy, and especially for anyone, I think the younger crowd, anyone younger than 50 and has had, a decent amount of experience in the social networks at this point, and that seems pretty fundamental. But you'd be surprised still to this day how many businesses we come across that just have not even created the correct type of page, whether that be on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. All of these channels, you can create a personal brand, personal page, or a business page. So make sure you start off right from the beginning. Second would be the type of marketing campaign, and that's paid versus organic. In every single platform, you have the ability to post for free. You can go to your business Facebook page, write out your thoughts, hit share, and not spend $1. And your audience, a good majority of your audience will see that post. Hopefully, if it's good content, they will comment on it, share it, which will help their audience then see that content that you shared, and you can grow your page and grow your content from there. Paid marketing is obviously when you are willing to pay the platform to promote your content to an audience that you build. Typically, what works best is a combination of both of these strategies. You want to be continuously posting content on your page. You don't always need to boost your content or pay to have it be seen by a larger audience, but it's extremely difficult to grow a social media page purely organically without paying for anything, unless you put out a piece of content that is just so extremely interesting or valuable or funny that it just gets shared like wildfire. I'll give you an example. For Social Hustle, we created a video just kind of showcasing the hometown of, or I guess where the headquarters of Social Hustle is, which is Rigby, Idaho. And the video, I use the word viral in relative terms. It was viral for us. We put it out, and within 30 minutes of us putting this video out, there had been hundreds of people that had shared the video. I think over the course of a week, we had almost 15,000 views on this video, and at that point had not paid any money to actually promote the video. And so that's extremely rare. You have to have the right recipe of the content that you put out and who sees it and who shares it. But it is possible to gain a lot of views and a lot of attention without actually paying the platform. The last part of these building blocks that we wanted to talk about is content creation. You really need to have a solid strategy behind the type of content that you will be creating, how you will be creating it, the equipment needed to create that content, and then also a content calendar is extremely valuable in helping you visually see when you're going to post this content, where you're going to post it, lay out a schedule for a month or 3 months or 6 months of, you want to put up a video every Friday. We'll figure out what the topic of that video is going to be. Set yourself some timelines for creating that content to make sure that you can create it and get it out on time. But a content calendar is extremely valuable to make sure you're consistently getting stuff out. Next, I want to just give an example of the different types of content that you'll see on these platforms, which kind of touches on what I was speaking to earlier. LinkedIn. The content that you see on LinkedIn is almost always business related. Occasionally, someone will share something from their personal life or a story that happened to them when they're at a grocery store or something like that. But it usually always comes back and relates to something in business, because people go to LinkedIn to consume business related content. Compare that to Instagram, and I have my Instagram page here. You can share photos of your family. You can share photos of experiences of your travel. Things that are happening in your life. Occasionally on my personal Instagram page, I will share business related things, but it's mainly because that's such a big part of my life. In my bio, I talk about the businesses that I am involved in. But for the most part, if you see any of my content on my personal pages, it's normally almost always related to my personal interests and things like that. So make sure that you are posting the right type of content to the right pages. You will not see as much success on LinkedIn when you're sharing things that are unrelated to business. Although I'm sure if I were to share this picture of my niece Tinsley on LinkedIn, it would probably get a lot of love because everyone seems to love Tinsley. But for the most part, you want to keep business related content on the business platforms and personal related content on at least your personal page on those platforms. From there, we'll talk a little bit about the budget. With social media marketing, we talked about, you have organic versus paid, and organic social media marketing costs you nothing other than your time to create that content and to post it. And so we have $100 here, but in reality, you could spend $0 on these platforms and potentially grow your page to the point where you're selling products and services and never having to pay any money. For the most part, you normally are going to have to spend some money to start to gain attention and increase your following and increase the likes and engagement that you get on your posts. And there really is no top end. I'll say the sky is the limit when it comes to the amount of money that you can spend in social media marketing. There are companies that are spending hundreds of $1,000s on Facebook and on Instagram to promote their products, promote their services, to get people to come to their website and buy. Typically, I think the average in social networks for the average size business is somewhere from a couple $1,000s to, tens of thousands. Very rarely are you coming across a business that's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in these platforms, but you definitely can. And same with Google Ads, you really can scale up as you see success and, continue to spend money as long as it's bringing you a positive ROI. So that's it. So that we have on social media marketing. I will turn it over to Chris again to touch on email marketing.
Thank you, Dallin. So you've gone through all of this process. You've engaged with your customers on social media. You've found them through Google Ads, through paid advertising. Your SEO was bringing them, and they've landed on your website. That pop-up has come up and said, "Hey, sign up now, and we'll give you 10% off. We'll give you 20% off." Or they've joined your email list through other avenues, and now what do you do with them? And I think we get this question so often where people are fairly good at collecting the information, getting their emails, but the question and the difficulty comes down to, what do I do with it? And often the answer is, oh, I'm going to send them product promotions. Here's the discount I'm having. Here's the sale that I'm having. And you can reach out to your past customers with these promos, deals, and these updates. But on top of that, email marketing is a great way to build your brand awareness. It's a way to connect with your consumer. It's a way to show them who you are and the things that you do, your company initiatives, your company exercises, how you're helping the community, and then you can naturally include links to your products and to your services. It's a lot easier to get somebody to engage with you and to interact with you and to feel comfortable buying from you if they trust you, if they believe in your brand. Every year, market research continues to tell us that consumers, the younger they are, the more and more interested they are in who you are as a company, who you are as a brand, more than just the specifics of, here's widget letter A, widget letter A does this, great, I will buy it because it is a good price. Oh, we lose the presentation there?
Nope, should still be good.
Oh, there we go. It's okay. And so I really want to, highlight the fact that email marketing can be a very powerful tool. On the left here, you can see the most recent email that Dallin and I put together for our newsletter. And we're going through talking a little bit about the latest video that we produced, the fact that everybody's hanging out in their PJs. We try to keep it light, informational, but still discuss what we do as a company. Dallin, you want to take us on to the next slide there?
Yep.
And so the benefit of email marketing is to create these eye-catching and engaging emails. It's an essential tool for bringing back prior customers and to introduce your new sales, to introduce the products and the offerings you have. And I would say, please don't be afraid to promote your company and the sales that you have, but you want to make sure that you're doing that in a ratio of helpful and useful information on top of the actual products and the sales that you're having. That way, when the actual sale or the product comes up that you're promoting, they're more comfortable engaging and reading that and acting on it. And it's also going to stand out. If they see information and they see content coming from you frequently, and then there's a product advertisement, that's going to catch their eye more than every week you send out the latest product that's on sale. Dallin, is there anything you want to add to that? Those are the pieces that stand out to me with email marketing.
Nope, that sounds great. And I know we are going a little bit longer than expected, but I think we're again trying to stay high level on all of this stuff. And so thanks everyone for still sticking around. I see we really haven't had hardly anyone drop off yet, so we appreciate that. And just a few more slides, and we'll get to the Q&A.
Yeah,
So next, oh, go ahead, Chris. You have something?
I was just going to say, with the webinar we've set up, if it ends at 3 minutes, there is a there is a small technical chance that the webinar may just close. I'm looking at that on the back end right now, but if for any reason that does happen, we'll send this out, and I'm going to take a look at that right now and make sure that's not going to happen.
Okay, sweet. So next, get into website development. And really the purpose of this slide is to just talk about the different platforms that are available at your disposal to use. And it really just depends on what your business goals are. Shopify is by far the most popular platform for e-commerce websites in 2020. If you're selling a product, you have a transactional business model, Shopify is the site that you should be evaluating. If you are non-transactional, WordPress is our number one recommendation. About 30% of all websites on the internet are built in WordPress, so it's extremely popular. There's almost nothing that you could try and think up for your website to do that hasn't already been done on a WordPress website and has documentation on how to make that happen. WordPress does also have an e-commerce option. It's just a little bit more difficult to create and customize and manage than Shopify. And so that's normally why we recommend Shopify as an e-commerce site. And you also do have quite a few free or nearly free website options like Wix, Squarespace, Weebly. Some of these are extremely affordable, but the phrase, you get what you pay for really does stand true with these types of sites. You're going to be limited in customization. You're going to be limited in your ability to do SEO and market these sites. So if you are very, very tight on a budget and you are really, trying to pinch your dollars, then that is an option. However, just keep in mind that if your business grows with, hopefully at the rate that you want it to grow, you will most likely outgrow these free website options pretty quickly. And you will need to then upgrade to a WordPress. And so the money and the time and the effort that you spent in, building that Wix or that Weebly website won't necessarily be for waste, but you're going to have to then spend the money for the WordPress site. So we really encourage everyone to start off on a platform that they will not outgrow, which would be WordPress. Next, we will move into tools and software, and I'll let Chris talk about this section.
Thank you, Dallin. One of the big, pieces that then comes with understanding what's happening is how do you measure success? How do you measure and understand what's working, what's not working? If it's e-commerce, the question is normally, okay, how much money did I make? And that's a great high-level way to measure, but there's so much more information that's available. And if you understand how to find it and how to read it, that can be really successful for you. So let's go ahead and step into this next slide here, and we'll look at the top reporting tools that existed. Again, I want to caveat this by saying there are hundreds of tools, and I myself have personally paid for and tested dozens of them out there, but these are the top ones that I would recommend beginning with. As a whole, nothing, in my opinion, is more powerful than Google Analytics. If you have a website, you need to go ahead and set up Google Analytics. And this is going to tell you a clear view of the traffic and the behaviors of people on your website. How long are they on certain pages? What devices are they using? It's going to tell you how they're engaging with your content. What pages did they land on and disappear from? And on top of all of this demographical information, it will also give you the transactional information. How much money are you making? How many lead forms are being filled out? Which avenues are bringing you the best traffic? Is it social? Is it paid? Is it organic? And so on. So Google Analytics, fantastic tool, very, very deep with the amount of data you can get from it. Next, Google Trends. I think Google Trends is one of the most underrated tools that's out there. It's a super powerful tool just for understanding the amount of interest there is for a search term, a phrase, a service, a product. You can go to Google Trends, and it's completely free. Both of the first two are completely free. You can go there, type in anything you want, and you'll understand over time how this product or service is trending. If you want something that's put a smile on your face, you can pull up Google Trends and type in toilet paper, and you're going to see this massive exponential spike right around the toilet paper purchasing that happened here just a couple weeks ago, and then you'll see it peter off. And any events that occur, this is a great way to understand how the industry is trending for that specific keyword. Finally, I want to get into HubSpot and into MailChimp. HubSpot and MailChimp are two of the best CRMs and mailing systems. They're a really fantastic way to track who your users are, keep notes about your users. If you're dealing with a lot of individuals, you can use a CRM to be able to take notes on them, track your emails, track your tasks, and make sure that you stay up to date on individuals, with MailChimp being our preferred go-to for email marketing. You can connect the two and you can send out your emails and outreach and ensure that you're staying in touch with your consumers. Now we're going to do, we'll do another webinar, another segment on tools. I could spend hours talking about the right tools, but to get started, I would 100% recommend these four to get you going in your, your tools software and your business analysis.
Okay, and with that, our final slide before the Q&A is educational platforms that you can use to further your education on any of these topics that we have discussed so far. SEMrush is and SEO Moz both are probably the leaders in online education. They have many courses focused on SEO, Google Ads, social media, and if anyone is interested in any topic or multiple topics, you can go to these websites. We place the links below. Again, we'll email this out to you so you have the links, and check out the courses that they have. Also, there's Google Skillshop, and Google Skillshop helps you understand all of the different networks inside of the Google Ads platform. They have many different courses. All the employees of Social Hustle have gone through the courses of the Google Skillshop, and it's incredibly valuable information to not just cover the fundamentals, but also get into the nitty-gritty of all of the different networks and their abilities and their platforms and things like that. So with that, we will move into the Q&A. I see we have a few questions here that we will start to address. First question we had is if we could rank number 1 and 2 between SEO, Google, or social media ads. That's a tough question because I think it's different for everyone. And so I would refer back to using Google Trends, using some of the tools to analyze, who your buyers are, where their attention is at. If they are an older crowd and maybe they're 65 and older, and you have a service-based industry, let's say you are an automotive repair shop, or like an insurance agency, and you are looking for, where's the best way for me to spend my money? Social media might not be the best place to go after that older crowd. I would say a lot of people, when they are in need of services, would go to Google and search for that service. And so I would maybe rank SEO or Google ads slightly above social media ads. If you are selling to, somewhat of a younger crowd, maybe you have a product or service that is very competitive or even slightly unknown. Like if you have a business idea or a business model that you think is great because not very many people are doing it, there's probably not very many people searching for it because they may not know that product or service is out there and available. And so if that's the case, I would run social media ads to try and push your message or push your product or service into social media to educate people that this is an option and that it's out there. So it's tough to rank 1 or 2 for everybody, but once you understand who you're selling to and where their attention is at, then that really should answer the question of where you should spend your money. And really, probably the best answer is to test everything. I mean, there's no harm in we can theorize that one may be better than another. But until we actually test it, we have been surprised before where we were like, okay, let's try a paid social media platform, but we think, probably SEO is going to be more beneficial, and we were wrong. We would have never known that if we didn't test it. So just like in anything, you can't really speak to it until you've had experience doing it. And so I just encourage, to test everything and try and see what works and see what doesn't. The next question we had is, I have an old website that hasn't been updated in a few years. Is that affecting my rankings in Google? Short answer would be most likely yes. You probably have quite a few opportunities that you're missing out on. You probably have, old or outdated content. Google really likes to see websites update their content and continue to post relevant content as industries and products and services change. And so maybe more than getting hurt by having old content, you are not helping yourself out if you were to have new content. And so there's nothing wrong with an old website. As a matter of fact, the older your website is, Google likes that. If you have a website and a domain name that's been around for 10 years, Google will look at you as you've been in business for a long time and you're probably pretty legitimate. But if you haven't updated any of your content in that 10 years since you launched your website, then that's probably about the only benefit that you're getting in the search engines. I think if I answered that, then great. If not, feel free to chat in again, and I can go deeper in if you have another question. So
We've got one here from Jody. I think we can tackle here, and she said, "What's the best way to research for your target audience?" That's a pretty broad topic, but when companies come to us and they're asking for the best way to find their target audience, it really comes down to understanding at the very basic level, where do they exist, what are the things that they do, where do they like to, you can even identify, like, where do they like to hang out, what type of platforms do they use. If you have a product and you have a service that you offer, the first place to start is the age group. What's the age that this individual is typically found within? Once you know their age, it's a little bit easier to identify the platforms that they use, right? The younger they are, the more modern and more new the platform is going to be, and the opposite's true is the older that they get. Once you've got the platform, you've got the age, what type of activities do they like? What do they spend their time doing? And again, without a specific example here, it's hard to craft that for you. But if you're the one that's selling the product and you're the one that's selling the service, you want to identify who is your ideal customer. That ideal then lets you research the target audience and expand that out. Now, Google has a few tools that will help you with that. Some of the training we talked about, SEMrush, Moz, they can give you tools to identify those target audiences, but we could spend again another hour and a half coming up with the best way to find those. I will say that within Google Analytics, if you set up your demographic targeting, and this is a feature that is not enabled automatically, you have to go in and set it up. And I would say it's one of the two things that I do within 24 hours of every single client is enabled demographic reporting. It will actually tell you their age, their sex, their interests, whether they're a parent, what are the activities they enjoy the most, what websites do they spend the most time on. This can really help you identify the areas that your target market exists within. Now, what would you add to that?
I think that's a great answer. Google, I think doing some keyword research is very valuable. And when I say keyword research, I'm talking either in Google Ads or some of the other tools that are mentioned. Getting an idea of search volume is of different keywords will help you understand, what your audience may be searching for and the demand behind your products or services. So that's another way to not necessarily research your target audience, but research if there is search volume and if there is interest in the product or service that you're selling. Another question I see here is, what's the fastest way I could get started marketing today? So talking about timelines, SEO is something that takes time. You're not going to optimize your content, build a few links, and show up on the front page of Google the next day. Google needs to find the stuff that you have done. They will slowly start to increase your rankings and see if visitors like your website and like your result. And you're probably not going to see the benefit of SEO in most markets for 3 to 6 months before you're actually going to go from not ranking anywhere to ranking on the first page. So the fastest way would be paid advertising. Google Ads, Chris and I could build a Google Ads account and turn it on, and you will start seeing traffic immediately. So if you are, if your highest interest is to try and generate leads or generate sales immediately, I would say paid social media marketing or paid Google ad marketing is going to give you the quickest result and get you to start creating sales and having revenue come in, and then maybe you could start investing in SEO now that you have room in the budget. The last question that I'm seeing here is, if you only had $500 to get started, what would you do first? So assuming that you have a website that's already built, because I think that is critical. You obviously got to have an online profile in order to really educate people on what you're doing. Sometimes you can get away with, just a Facebook page to start off with, but again, that's not ideal. So assuming you have a website that's already built or a Facebook page that explains everything that you offer, if I only had $500, I would probably start off with either Google ads or paid social media ads, because again, that's going to bring you your fastest ROI. If I only had $500 and I poured that into SEO, now I'm out of money and I'm essentially waiting for Google to find all of the changes that I made and rank me and bring people to the website and then make purchases. And now I've got more money to spend. So if I've got a small budget and I need to make sales before I'm able to spend more in marketing, I would definitely encourage you to evaluate and test some of the paid platforms. Usually Google Ads is going to be your best option to get started and start seeing sales immediately. And so with that, I think that is all the questions that we have for Q&A. And so I want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar and hanging out. We went about 15 minutes over of what we projected. And so appreciate everyone carving the time out of their day. We will just shortly after this webinar wrap everything up and email it out. And so watch for that email and you will get this, get all of this content, and you can go back through it in your own time. And if anyone has any other questions, as always, feel free to reach out to us. This last slide, I have my contact information. We love having conversations around digital marketing. We love having conversations around website development and business ideas. And so feel free to reach out. Our line is always open. Assuming we have time that specific day or time in any days upcoming, we will always field those phone calls, field those questions. So shoot me an email, shoot me a Facebook message. On our website, you can find my phone number as well. Shoot me a text message. Any questions you have, we'll be happy to answer and start the conversation on digital marketing. So again, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate it. If you could remember to fill out the exit survey at the end of this webinar and let us know your thoughts, or just email them over and let us know what you thought. We would really, really appreciate that, and it'll help us curate another webinar down the road that will be even better than this one. So with that, I say goodbye, everyone. Stay safe and well, and thanks for attending the webinar.